Hey, everybody, we're here with Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee for another episode of Ask Dan. How are you, Lieutenant Governor?
Very good, Ben. How you doing tonight?
I'm wonderful, thanks. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for everybody being here tonight. I'm Dan McKee. I'm Lieutenant Governor, and my hair is getting a little longer as everybody else is at home. So I'm not cheating. Don't be cheating. We want to be everybody be safe and healthy. And I always say when the start of these calls that I've had multiple calls with businesses or long-term healthcare, which I had one today with about 100 people involved in long-term healthcare, is our main job is not to get infected by the virus and to make sure that we don't spread. So safety is the most important issue that we can possibly deal with right now. Uh, I hear some people saying that this is an exaggeration. Well, if it was, not every school in the country would be closed and every university be closed as well. This is a very serious matter, and we need to listen to our board, our health department, Dr. Scott, the emergency management, the governor, and her office as well. But we also know there's many other things that are happening in Rhode Island that we need to be aware of. Last week, we were fortunate to have one of the farmers on our show, and we were able to help them move along a policy to help open up their garden shops in time for Mother's Day. And we were very happy to be able to play a role in that. And this week we're going to be talking about in general, like when we open up, what is it going to look like, and what are we going to be concerned about? And not only our safety, but also our economy. We got to make sure that the businesses that were in business before this virus hit, before this health crisis began, that we want them to make sure that they're in business after this health crisis is over. But that's going to be a process, and that's going to be a challenge, and we're going to have to work at it. And tonight we've got some people that are going to be able to help us give an idea of what's happening on the ground, what's happening in our communities, how are we going to actually help our small businesses, and that's what we're going to focus on tonight, is our local economies and the short-term impact and the long-term impact it'll have, and strategies and plans that can help that make that happen. So we're going to continue to do this show, Ask Dan, and you can ask your questions if you're online. If you're watching this on the Facebook line or Twitter or wherever your source is. You can ask your questions. Ben will certainly answer those, help ask those of me, and I'll try to answer them. And the ones that we can answer, we'll make sure that we get back to you as we have, since this stay-at-home, executive order took place a few weeks back with the governor. But first, I'd like to bring Louise on. Ben, would you bring Louise in, and so we can introduce her and let her know that there's tourism councils that are very active in the state of Rhode Island, and Louise Bishop is one of those, and president and CEO of the South County Tourism Council, as you can see on your screen. And I'm pretty familiar with what's happening down in your area of the state. I've always said, Louise, since I've been lieutenant governor, that there's 39 cities and towns. Everyone's important, and the people in the communities that make up those communities are important. And you're a big part of that when you start talking about tourism. So you have a very good sense of what we're dealing with right now, the impact it's going to have on our economy. And please share a little bit about the background so that we know there's a difference between a chamber and a tourism council. And we've got up here in Blackstone Valley, I've worked with Bob Billington. Yeah. For years, before I was a mayor, during when I was mayor, and now as lieutenant governor. We've been working on a real interesting project that we'll talk about after you kind of get the ball rolling here. But please, set the stage, and so everybody kind of understands what a tourism council does and the impact that they have on the state of Rhode Island.
Well, simply put, all the tourism regions are 501c6s. They're nonprofits. We are the marketing and PR body for, well, obviously South County, 11 towns. And we are funded by lodging tax. And it was created, these regions were created by hotels to have a voice in marketing their properties. So that's what we focus on, the region. We pay attention to the hotels, but also every business is important, because you can't just have a hotel. You've got to have the restaurants, you've got to have the attractions. And so that's our job, is to market everyone and pay attention to the climate and see how things are going. And as we move through this crisis, the direct economic impact continues to grow. We have 6 chambers, and just with the chambers alone, since the crisis, there's been 16 events that have been canceled, and that's a loss of revenue that's it's about 4.6 million in total, and that's a serious hit. So what we're hoping to focus on is to have the phase 4 stimulus take a look at this particular loss amongst others, and possibly create a cultural events protection program for them with this next stimulus. I'm hoping that you'll have something positive to say about, the ability to have that happen, or encourage that to happen.
Yes. Well, let's talk just a little bit about the events and how they're being canceled. It's not just the NBA, or the National Basketball Association. It's not just, the sporting events or the golfing events, but it's local events.
Exactly.
And just explain a little bit of some of the events that even down in Westerly this weekend and outside that, and what that means to the community. And it means a lot to the communities, these local events, and they're being canceled. But they're not just, they bring communities together, but they are also very important to the economy. So why don't you just speak to that a little bit about a couple specific events that you can make examples of right now, and how important that is, that we pay attention to what you just said in terms of the impact it's going to have on long-term on our economy.
So generally in Westerly, it's, your spring is your Spring Fest. So that doesn't just bring in people from the area. It brings in, from the regions around us, Connecticut, Massachusetts. People are coming down. Know this event happens every single year. They're dining in our restaurants. They're enjoying the day. Sometimes they're spending the night. It's a whole trickle down from, anything that you would do for a family escape. Calamari Festival in Narragansett, the music festival that happens in the fall, is on, possibly might not happen. I know Oktoberfest was just canceled in Providence. So this is the kind of thing that's happening. It is happening everywhere. But South County alone has lost 16 events. Completely, off the books and not to be seen until next year. So that's where our losses are with that.
So how just from a practical point of view, what's the planning look like to to overcome that challenge, and also how to keep the spirit alive in these communities? I know Caswell was on last week, and he's going to do a virtual show, and I'm going to be down there, and I'm going to be not down there, but I'll be in my house making believe I'm down there, introducing some of the people on the show. But share a little idea with some of the creative stuff that you have to be thinking about right now. And then I want to dig into the thought that you started off with in terms of, how are we going to fill the hole, and whose responsibility it is to do that.
Well, for our office, we've had to pivot in our messaging. We decided to stay the course of our whole marketing plan and add more to the domestic drive market, because we know that that's really what's going to happen this year. That international isn't going to be it. It has to start within your drive market. So we started slowly because we were hitting the apex of this virus. Just slowly starting to change our messaging, and as each week, it seems like each week we're changing things. So we're doing these 2-minute videos within all of our communities to remain in the forefront of everyone's mind that summer is coming and we're still here, and we will reopen. We will wait for the sunny days to happen. So these videos have been picked up, constantly through the PR company NJF in New York, and helping get our message out. but you have to be careful at times like this. You just can't full throttle say it's time to rent a house, come on down, without letting everyone know that we have prepared for a safe environment for our visitor. So that's pretty much what our focus has been. And now this week, we are starting on what the recovery plan looks like, and adding radio. We'll do digital billboards, and we're moving through it like that. It's the safest way to just pivot where it's needed, analyze the social sentiment, and measure the stakeholder sentiment and what their needs are. And pretty much right now, that's what this is about. This is about your businesses and finding out what their needs are and how our office can help them, get them in the forefront. But as soon as we find out that the governor has said it's time for the beaches to open, then you will see more of our work, which normally we're 900 miles out. We're DC, Philly, Toronto, Ontario, New York City, Boston. But due to the drive market, knowing that's really what is going to sustain everybody this year, you'll see more of, our advertising, what we do directly.
And that's, I love when you said, we talked today and you said, look, this is the time to advertise, right? A lot of people are pulling back. That means that there's a void in the space. And if there was a time when, and I certainly would be supportive of, the small business side of what you're talking about, the state actually, or the federal, we talked about the federal dollars, should be investing in our organizations that are really showing a positive light on the state of Rhode Island and have been for years. There's going to be an empty space in that market because most people are going to pull back, right?
That's
a lot of
correct.
people are going to pull back, right? That's been your kind of the experience.
Yes.
We should be, showing our state as this great place that is right between New York and Boston, and there's a place called Rhode Island, and it's a real
That's
good
right.
place to be, right? To live and to visit.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
is there a thought to, I'll have to talk to my friend Bob Billington about that, because I know he gets all in on that type of stuff, but our office, anything that has to do with, the economy, small business in particular, and this is impacting small businesses. You just explained that if they don't have the Spring Fest, Sue and I are not going to go down and do an overnight, which we would normally do. We wouldn't be eating in the restaurants, or shopping at one of the retail shops along, like Jay McLaughlin or something like that, which we will visit along that strip. So I hope that we're able to figure out a strategy. And that's one of the things that I've been talking about, Louise, is saying, look, the state we can't just depend on the federal. We've got to figure out what we can get out of the federal dollars. But at some point in time, they're going to stop. They're going to say, this is enough. We can't give any more. And 8 weeks is not a long enough time frame for us to be doing the planning that's going to be impacting our small businesses or our economy. So we really should be thinking about what the state is going to willing to invest in open our economy. And we know right now that the demand far exceeds the supply. So that I think that people have followed the fact that there were some small business loan opportunities that Goldman Sachs put out, $10 million. It sounds like a lot of money to a household. It is, but in the context of having I think there's like 100,000 small businesses in the state of Rhode Island of some kind, and we're not reaching any percent of those. So they're all asking for this stuff. So that was going in and out, right? The $2 million that started this week, of whatever the number was that Citizen was putting out with LISC, that got exhausted inside of an hour. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, they put up some grants that was a national one, and we got out in front of that with people that were telling us about it with the chambers, and we were pushing out that information to all our small businesses. I know a lot of them applied, but a lot of them couldn't even get into the portal because that exhausted right away. So with all these gaps that we got, what are we going to do? The state, we need to figure out a strategy on the state. And I've been talking now for a couple of weeks saying, organize all the lending institutions, see what they're willing to do for our small businesses, get the state in there in terms of like, guaranteeing some level, which other states are doing right now, and then leverage that guarantee 10 times you guarantee in terms of the amount of money that the banks can get out on the street, and also create a little bit of a discounted strategy to it, so that that the businesses don't have to absorb all the debt. Maybe they share in that. Maybe we get the municipalities. I was a former mayor. If my businesses in my town as a mayor could have participated, and I needed to put a little skin in the game from the municipality point of view to protect that tax base for my community, I would do it. So, but that discussion is not happening. We got to figure out a way, and maybe you can help us figure out a way to drive that, because your space needs that advocacy. And we talked about it a little bit. But all these other spaces need the advocacy. So it's not just one group that is going to try to figure out how to move this thing. And our goal is to really assemble as many small people interested in the small business economy in the state together, so that we can drive something. So, your thoughts on that? I know that you do the great work down there, and the tourism councils are a big deal. They're not a small deal in our state. And I appreciate the fact that you're on talking about it. But do you have any other, kind of thoughts to kind of end the thinking right now in terms of what we're missing and what we should be talking about?
Well, I'm really hoping that with all the businesses can come together, take a look at the CARES Act, the 1.25 billion that every state is guaranteed, and that everyone gets together and is able to let the governor know that there should be some equity here within these small businesses, because the 1.25 billion is the minimum that every state is getting. And what is that application process for people to gain these funds? I mean, I don't believe that everyone is going to be made completely whole, but tourism is our fourth leading economic driver in the state, and it needs to be recognized that way. And sometimes it's not. So it's important that every small business, get together and have a voice and contact their state reps and their senators, and work with you to be one and heard.
Well, we're getting, and by this interaction, and you're going to hear from the three businesses that are going to come on shortly, that are volunteering their time to really coordinate an unbelievable effort to help the small businesses in the state short term, and now they're thinking, during the recovery and then beyond that. But when I get to talk to people like yourself and that idea, I was talking about that idea as a municipal leader, and I was calling my friends that are municipal leaders saying, you need to step up here. You gotta actually put some pressure on. And I was glad to see that the league president actually put an editorial in the paper today or yesterday that said specifically that we need to know about the funds, the federal funds, and how they impact us, because if municipalities start losing revenue, or the state starts losing revenue, and they cut off the municipalities, like happened in 2008 timeframe when I was a mayor, that's going to impact our local community. So I was really happy when you mentioned that today in the context of the small business community. I think that's a source of a great topic that we'll bring on to our conference call that we're having on Tuesdays and Fridays at noontime. And I'd love to have you come down on with maybe a couple of the tourism, counterparts to talk specifically about that and other issues, so that call is now just like this communication, this broadcast is going to be shared amongst, several hundred people, thousands of people or more. Those calls we've averaged 200 or 300, about 300 businesses on that call, but we know the governor's office is on there. We know the congressional offices are on there, because we've had them on, the congressional delegation. We know that the House, the General Assembly is listening in. So that's been a great forum. And we know the media is listening in to those calls as well, because they are reporting what's happening on those calls back into the media. And for us to get a voice in the framework that we got right now, because it's so hypersensitive to be talking about anything other than the health issue. And I started the show, this broadcast, saying how important that is. So I'm not downplaying that at all. But it also is difficult to figure out how to have these other conversations that are going to be very, very critical, that we start getting that ball rolling on that, Louise. So I appreciate you reaching out, and we'll have you back on one of those calls very shortly when we set the agenda up for next week. And we'll talk about that. And the more we talk about it, and these are things that, just like training is not a one-time event. We always hear about that in our business training and everything else. Neither is the messages that you're delivering. So delivering at one time is good, but you've got to continually reinforce that, deliver it as many times as you can. So I encourage you to do that, and we'll do everything we can to get that message out.
Thank you so much.
Well, welcome. You're welcome, and thank you for being here. Okay. So I think that we know the tourism is a big deal in our state, and it's interesting that when I started this call a few weeks ago, it was dark, and now it's light out. But now it's getting darker. So let me put my light on in my office just in case you can't see me. Hold on a sec. Okay. Just to make sure I don't go dark on you, I have to put my lights on. But anyways, yes, that tourism issue is so important. And we're trying to use these opportunities to be speaking to, hundreds of people at the same time, to let people know that our office is working really hard, but also we're working on things that are very, very important. And you just heard about that. The three guests that I want to bring on now, I just want to set this up a little bit. So on my first call that we had several weeks ago, I just invited a handful of businesses on and to start the discussion. And in that discussion, I always give out my cell phone number. So anybody that's interested in talking to me about issues that are important, you can call our office at 222-2371. But my cell phone number is 401-465-6204. And I gave that out, and I got a call from Justin. And Justin's going to introduce himself and his business in a second. And then I shared with him a thought about trying to figure out how to do a gift it forward program strategy. I had no idea how we might be able to do it. But these three individuals have such a creative businesses of their own. And they're going to explain why they would get involved in this. But they've brought this to a level of gift it forward program in the state that is just remarkable in a short period of time, and doing it all volunteer. So anybody who wants to volunteer and help out in terms of helping our small business, you can contact it as at our office. Again, it's 222-2371. You can contact me personally at 401-465-6204. But let's bring on this trio of people who are helping out one at a time. There's Justin, yeah. There's Laurie, yeah, good guy, yeah. There we are. Chris, good to see you. And why don't we do this? We just kind of go from Chris to Laurie and then to Justin, and just kind of give us a quick introduction of your own business, your own personal profile, and the impact that this is having on you individually. And then we'll kind of rotate back around about the volunteer work you're doing. But initially, just introduce. You're a small business person. I've been in small business, still in small business. If you notice, I got my Patriots jersey on. This is kind of like a tribute to the Patriots leaving New England and heading to Tampa, but with Brady and Gronk. But now we're going to be torn in terms of who we're rooting for. But I'm still with New England Patriots. But my son is definitely going to be rooting for Tampa Bay at 35 years old, 36 years old. But anyways, go ahead, Chris. Please, give us an overview of your business, a little overview of how this is impacting you in terms of this health crisis. And then we'll go to Laurie next.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Chris Parisi, president and founder of Trailblaze Marketing. We are a local marketing agency here in Providence, Rhode Island. And when this first started to happen, obviously the first thought was making sure our employees and our business is okay, as well as our clients. And we have great clients, and they're doing well. And that was able for us to kind of pivot towards, all right, we know as a marketing agency, we may not be able to start selling our services. How can we help out the community? Being on Westminster Street, there's a lot of small businesses right as our neighbors, and they all need some type of help. So when I saw the Lieutenant Governor's office with Justin doing their Gift It Forward program, I reached out, had a conversation, and I said, hey, any way that we can help, with our marketing arm that we have, we're here to help. And it's been a great partnership thus far, and we're looking for everything that we're about to, share with you all of how we can really leverage the site even further.
Well, Chris, thank you for being here. And we'll get back to you on a kind of a little bit of a think tank strategy here that we started today. And I said, the conversation was so good. I said, we got to kind of, rehearse it for our Friday call. So,
Yeah.
that we can, as I said to Louise on the way out, this is not a one-time event. This communication strategy, heck, I'm talking to 3 communicators. So, but this is not a one-time event. As I learned in my training in business, it is multiple, impressions that we have to make on behalf of our small business. Lori, I just got a little message from one of our.
I see it.
I gotta say that in Rhode Island, when I go around, I always say, "Are you from Rhode Island?" Yeah, I get a thumbs up. Are you from Cumberland, Rhode Island, my hometown? You get 2 thumbs up.
Rinaldi.
So, Lori,
Right back to my tennis days. Oh my goodness sake.
Unbelievable.
Yes, so I'm Lori Giuttari. I own Visual Thrive Media and Marketing Agency, and we mainly do communications, original photography and video, and social media marketing, all original customized work. So we started to think about how we could help our businesses, our clients, and we began to develop rithrives.com so that other businesses and customers would know where to go and where to understand who's open. And you can go on to rithrives.com right now or visualthrive.com and contact us about the initiative. And it will just tell you who's open, who's delivering, who's doing pickup, who's doing online fitness classes or online services. And then I was lucky enough to meet Chris and Justin, and Justin's site, the rismallbusiness.org site. And so now we're combining our creative efforts and really trying to give small business a great platform. And in marketing, they say you have to hear something 7 times before you make a move. So yeah, we'll just keep saying it over and over.
Yeah, you got to get those impressions out there for sure, Lori. And yes, I know the rule of thumb for every negative, you need 10 positives to overcome that.
Right.
So that's why we want to drive up the small business friendliness in the state of Rhode Island. And the 3 of you are doing something extraordinary that I can tell you has never happened before.
We're
all
having
the time that I've been in local office or local work, and community work. So thank you for doing that. Justin, I want to just as you and I had that first original conversation, we probably have had 30 since then, but just the stuff that has gone on. Just first, tell us a little about your business and how you've kind of had to work your way through a very difficult time, just like Chris and Lori and many other businesses in the state of Rhode Island. But give us a little overview of your own business, and then we'll get right with you. We'll get right into the the website, and then we'll open it up to a conversation between the 3 of you. I'll just sit back and listen. I'll let you guys kind of steer the conversation. But Justin, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm the co-owner of Oceanside Graphics in Warwick. When this all started, just like Lori and Chris were just talking about, we sat back and said, "Oh man, what are we going to do?" A lot of our big customers, we do a lot of branding and brand environments. So we do big office building murals, big branding projects with a lot of bigger companies and small companies. But when it all started, they just started pulling contracts from us, and not in a negative way. It was just they didn't want people out there in the public. So we took a few days, tried to figure out what we were going to do, made the decision to lay everybody off. And it was right around the same time that we had our initial call of, what can we do? What's going on? And that's when, you and I had gotten into contact to really come up with the whole Gift It Forward strategy. And, we had all arms are open. And then someone, in the meantime, reached out to us to see if we could, help make some medical face masks. They knew we had a 3D printer. They saw something about them. And it turned out that we were able to use a lot of the sign grade material, which is FDA approved plastics, melt them down on our screen printing dryers, mold them with a mold we made on our CNC, and help a lot of the medical industry in that initial push. So we've kind of divided out our staff into 2 groups. One's just doing the PPE stuff right now, and one of us is just working on the Gift It Forward, and really the whole rismallbusiness.org movement, which is what the three of us are gonna team up and roll out with Trailblaze and Visual Thrives. But I mean, it's been a wild ride the last couple of weeks. For the first time in a few weeks, we're chatting face to face, and it's crazy because 15 minutes down the road, but we've all been housebound or business bound, one of the two, and we've been doing our plenty of Zoom calls and phone calls. It seems like the phones are just never stopping now, and it's you miss that interaction with people, which is actually kind of fun right now.
Yeah, so Justin, as kind of the lead into the conversation that we had today on the phone, and I said we gotta, I want to extend that because I want to bring it back on Friday as well on our phone call. But why don't you just give an overview and we can and Ben, maybe you could even show the website a little bit, that'd be great. Just kind of give us a walkthrough. And Justin, why don't you just explain, right from the beginning where, how we started and how this has grown to bring more and more people in. Sue and I got to admit, we took a Sunday drive the other day and to pick up some farm product down in South County to help the farmers, support the farmers. And of course, we saw a bulletin board out there that Chris helped us to actually design. But why don't you just set it up a little bit for a few minutes? Just talk about it. Talk about the number of how the contacts, the number of people on there, and bring us from the first step all the way through where we are right now, including Chris and Laurie, and then we'll open up this conversation to a broader one in terms of what we're going to do, not only in the short term, but what the thinking of what we're going to do on the long term to help small businesses in Rhode Island.
Yeah, so when we first started, the movement itself, like we had just said, there was about 30 businesses on the call. Dan and myself had said, geez, let's throw this quick website up there. And the initial idea was to get people to buy gift cards. So by clicking on that little click, they would be able to go on as a consumer, they would be able to buy a gift card and give some immediate relief to the businesses that had to close. So initially we didn't have any of it broken down, by category like you see now. This was version 2.0. I think that we all initially thought we'd get a couple hundred businesses on here, and we very quickly learned that, we underestimated the power of what we were doing. In just 3 short weeks, we have just about 1,000 businesses signed up on our movement, as we're calling it. We've got about 5,000 people to click on that link and actually purchase gift cards to businesses. And we're approaching 1,000 businesses on the site now. Consumers can go on, as you just saw, they can nominate a business, so they can put their name, email, phone number, nominate a business in their neighborhood. A business can go on and register themselves. You can go on and share a success story with us. So if you are a business and you've sold a bunch of gift cards, you can go on there and tell us a little bit about your success. Bobby, who is has become a friend of mine in the last few weeks, he was able to go on there and buy about $600 worth of business cards, and he used it to help promote his business. So he bought out the business cards, and he was sharing $600 worth of business cards to the local community, which was really cool. So we were proud to put that on there because it was a direct result of the efforts in which we were doing. And as the site started to develop and became more of a hub, Chris was a key part in helping us organize and move those in the right direction. We were able to secure some billboards, as you just mentioned, by Lamar. They were able to donate those to us. And, Chris put those together. I was bombarded with doing entries, day in and night for the website. And, Chris was like, let me take it. I'll get my creative team on it. And within a few hours, the billboards were created and sent over to Lamar's creative team to get rocking. And then within the past, 2 weeks or so, Lori was able to come in as we discovered her website, which was RI Thrives. And she had a very similar vision to what we were doing, which is similar to what some of the other chambers were doing. And, as a group, we've decided, well, we need one hub. We need one place where everybody can go to and rismallbusiness.org has really turned into that hub, and we just don't want it to die out. We want to do it during and beyond where we are all now as small businesses.
Yeah, so I think that brings you right up to speed of where we are. Let me just kind of give you a little overview of what we've been trying to do in our office, in terms of continually trying to promote. I mean, we've been on multiple 39 tours, whether it's a farm in every community, or a used car dealer, or a manufacturer, or a coffee shop, or and on and on and on. Along with, make sure we're visiting the municipal leaders in the same way. And also, we know that the small business friendliness has not always been the highest in the state in our rankings, and that's something that I really, I shared with you something we did back in 4 years ago, so, and really made an effort to bring businesses together to hear about what is going to take to kind of move the feeling that that the small businesses in the state are appreciated by the people that are in charge, in terms of the policymakers. I know that there's great goodwill that all small businesses have with their customer base. Otherwise, you wouldn't have what's happening right now on the work that we're doing. So if our office and the work that's being done here, that's why we've gone out with these phone calls and try to help all these small businesses, is because that's one of the functions of our office. I chair the Advocacy Council for the Small Businesses, and that's why I'm so appreciative of the work that you're doing right now. So short term, all the things that Justin said, and why don't we just open up a conversation a little bit? Let's not get long term yet, but let's get the vision that the three of us have in terms of right now helping the businesses that are currently either closed or open during this time frame, as we move from not that we're basically shut down in a lot of ways, and then how we kind of reopen gradually. But during that time frame, Chris and Laurie, jump in with Justin, and just kind of, we start with Chris a little bit. Just give your vision of how this can help people in the short term, and then we'll talk about midterm, and then even the long term strategy, because we still got another 15 minutes or so that we can be talking here. So Chris,
right.
give us your little thoughts about the short term value of the work that you've been doing, and then let's all repeat that we want people to do business with the small businesses. No matter how, you're going to hear different ways out there of how you can. But Chris, share with us your thinking short term how this can help.
Yeah. So Justin and Lieutenant Governor's office, their team, and now Laurie and I are helping out as well. It's done a great job with this rismallbusiness.org site. And its primary objective right now is for the Gift It Forward program, helping out these businesses to get cash in today. As small business owners, we know that cash flow is the most important thing for us during these really tough economic times. But we wanted to ask ourselves, what more can we do with this site? We have hundreds and hundreds of small businesses that are on the Lieutenant Governor's conference calls every Tuesday and Friday at noon. We have thousands of visitors to this rismallbusiness.org site. And we now have the ability to come together as small businesses and support each other and really help each other out. And with the site, what we were envisioning is, like Justin said, it becomes a hub for all Rhode Island small businesses, so that we can connect with small businesses with resources, with each other, with programs that are going out, whether it's government programs or initiatives like the Gift It Forward program.
And Chris, excuse me, but you did help number of businesses that weren't geared up to actually do online sales. Just spend 20 seconds on that, about what you did to help that out, because there are people who have benefited a great deal by that effort of yours. Yeah,
because one of the things with the Gift It Forward program is that if you didn't have the ability to sell gift cards online, we wanted to give the small businesses that opportunity. So Trailblaze, trailblazepvd.com is the website that we created that hosts all these resources, include the ability to sell gift cards online. So if you're a small business and do not have the ability to sell gift cards online, go to trailblazepvd.com and click the resource where it says gift cards. And that way you can sell gift cards, selling gift cards online, talk to Justin, get him your link and your business information, and that way you can start selling gift cards and getting some cash, and that helps with our bills that don't stop coming in.
And that's a short-term thinking right now to help people, because they haven't really, a lot of them haven't bridged, and Laurie's going to talk about it a little bit, haven't really bridged their business into this new space that they, that is being called for
Exactly.
right now. So Chris, thanks for that. And I'll certainly open this up to a discussion, but Laurie, why don't you jump in a little bit, give your thought, how it's because you have a link that also is helping businesses, and then we've been able to put this in a portal with Chris's help and Justin's help. But kind of give your short term how that we can lead into the long term. But I want to let people know there's help right now for them in a way that anybody who's listening to this or who was going to listen to this during the week, we're encouraging them to go and shop at these places, right?
Yeah, and the whole idea started because we had clients that we ended up shifting our communications work for them to do these COVID communications about how are we operating, what are we actually doing, are we doing pickup, curbside, are we letting people into our space? And so that's kind of where the idea started, where we wanted to say to the public and to any business, really, how do we know what's available in our community? And so we based it on we have a map on the site, on the riDrives.com site, so you can pretty much just zoom in and see what businesses. Right now, there are about 200 businesses on the site, and you can see what's open in your neighborhood and how they're operating. And so, for example, a client called me this morning and said that one of the things that she does with her husband during the week is they order just somewhere for something special to do. And she said it was so easy to just go to the site and zoom into a community and pick a restaurant and make an order and have kind of a fun, outing to go and get some cool food. But I think the long-term goal is really to create this dialogue with small businesses like the Lieutenant Governor is doing, so that we begin to operate the rismallbusiness.org hub to really, really respond to what the businesses need and not funnel the businesses into kind of a typical program, but to really engage the private, the nonprofit, and the government entities that are really coming together right now. I just think that there's a lot of momentum, and really great change can come from this type of integration where we start to think about the fact that everybody says, oh, we're all in this together. Yes, we are. But yes, we really are all in this together, and we need to figure out ways to support our communities and small businesses communities. So we are really enjoying talking to businesses and supporting them.
Yeah, so Laura, I think that moves us into a kind of hopefully have a little free for all here discussing, because I kind of jumping in on thoughts. Short term, we want people to go to these sites and to go to this portal that was just described. We want you to go, and we want you to do business with our small businesses. That's really the bottom line. We want you to make sure that we have to choose between a local business right now and a national business. We want to support our small businesses. That's the goal of this effort. So, but let's Laurie's kind of opened this up to a discussion right now about how we can actually get in when we start getting into the recovery. One of the things I want to share with people who are listening is that Rhode Island has been reported as being the only state in the country, as when this came out in the Harvard study, that had the ability to do the enough testing for the virus to actually be one of the first, if not the first state, one of the first states to have a reopening strategy. And that's being reported tonight. I just got a little post on that, but that's why it's so important that we're talking about this next phase of what it's going to look like and how we can actually, help these businesses adjust to what is going to be a new normal. So, jump in. Let's just jump in a little bit, Justin and Chris and Laurie, and have that discussion a little bit. And we don't know exactly where it's going to end up, but we do know it's going to end up in a place that is going to really benefit the small businesses in the state. And we're starting that discussion publicly in a way this week, so that others who are listening, who want to join in the discussion about how we can maximize this opportunity. And it is an opportunity. This has never happened before, where you could organize under volunteer work 1,000 or more businesses into a one network that is all trying to achieve the same thing, which is a good economy for their businesses and their families and the people who work for them. So, and work with them. So yeah, open it up in terms of, let's talk a little bit more about, visioning and thinking about what this could actually be.
Yeah, so Chris, Laurie, and I, and Andrea from your office, we had kind of our initial call today on what is our long-term strategy, where does this need to go, and how are we going to do this? We came up with a couple different ways to break this out, and I will let Chris and Laurie kind of dive into it, as they had some really good ideas. But we're basically going to take the rismallbusiness.org entity itself and break that down to a few different places. So there'll be a resource area, there'll be a shop local area, and then there'll be a service area, a who, what, when, and where. A lot of the problems small businesses have, or even trying to open a small business, is, who do I go to? Where do I go? How do I do it? And what do I need to do and when? And there's so many websites out there, state and private, on different processes. So this would be a way to, really streamline that down so that they could have a clear-cut answer. I know Laurie's really good with a lot of the communication stuff, so we kind of thought about like a shop local campaign that we would be able to do. Her site's doing a lot of that now with delivery and curbside. So as we see a lot of these businesses start opening, this is going to be able to be a great way to, who's open, where can I go? You mentioned friends went and got some takeout from somewhere. So it'll be a great resource for that. And then as far as, a resource tab itself, that's where, Dan and everybody's office comes in with, education. We kind of talked about maybe doing some, educational seminars and videos. How do I do marketing? I'm a small business. I don't have any money right now to do marketing. I'm just trying to get back on my feet. How do I do it? Where do I go? What's out there for government programs? Other chambers that could help me? What's the SBA thoughts and process on things? So, I'll let Chris and Laurie kind of dive in, but that's what we had a quick call at today, and we'll develop that over the next couple of weeks as we begin to start opening and, find out what those clear guidelines are going to be for opening those businesses.
Yeah, and one thing I will add is that we would love to hear from other small business owners like ourselves. And what are your thoughts for our site's future, and how can we best create it so that it could serve your purposes? So either put a comment in right now, or we can also email ltgov20@gmail.com. Is that right, Dan? Is that right?
Yeah, ltgov20@gmail.com. Yep, you got it down. That's good.
And submit your questions and your ideas of how we can improve this website moving forward. But we definitely want to hear from you. And one of the big things is a silver lining, so to speak, is people realize how important small local businesses are to our economy and to themselves. Local food systems, how important it is. So hopefully out of this craziness, we will have an increase of people understanding the importance of shopping local, of buying from small businesses here in Rhode Island.
Definitely.
I'd love to also hear from the businesses what they're thinking about in terms of their own protocols and how they want to open. We understand 6 feet apart and wear masks, and it would be ideal for the different types of businesses that are out there to just let us know what they're thinking in terms of how they open, so that we can as a state or as different industries create that Dan, you had talked about that a lot. And I think that that's going to be really key as someone unlocks the door to their business. How do customers feel comfortable to approach the business? And what?
Yeah, I think that, I've talked about that in terms of, when we reopen, we want people to feel comfortable, going out and doing direct business, as well as the kind of the new norm is which you're setting up is able to actually do this, right? This communication just like this, which is very valuable. But yeah, it would be great to have like I know what it's going to look like. We've seen reports from other states, other lieutenant governors' offices that I'm still involved with nationally. I chaired the National Lieutenant Governors Association a few years back. So I'm very in contact with many lieutenant governors around the country. And they're going to see, places like hairdressers and that type of thing all going to be bought by appointment only. It's going to be, no hanging around in the waiting room. It's going to be in and out. It's going to be, very strict type of guidelines in terms of, washing your hands as you come in, washing your hands as you come out. This is what we're seeing out there. So it'd be great to have a certification strategy so businesses could agree that they're going to follow these rules, and as they change, they're going to, continue to follow the rules until we get back to some form of normalness. But yeah, Lori, I think that would be very important to get a level of, confidence. That's going to be something that's going to be a challenge.
I also wonder what type of roles businesses will create because, and again, I don't know, I see what our clients are doing, but that they now have someone that's making deliveries and that person didn't make deliveries before, or someone that's shopping for someone and packing boxes and having, so there are these new and different things that are happening within businesses themselves that could sustain a business for a long period of time and maybe become a part of the business in terms of creating a new revenue stream or a new way of delivering that service.
Yeah, and you've mentioned too to me, Lori, in terms of like trying to figure out a way, and Chris just reemphasized the importance of our small businesses and working with our small businesses. And if the small businesses can kind of, reinvent themselves to a degree because of this, then they become an option to some of the online sales that have been really hurting our bricks and mortar stores, right? So they can be, if we structure it right, that could be a piece of it. That could be an option instead of going to Amazon for your soap or your creams or whatever we're shopping online, or your lamps or whatever it is. Let's figure out a way that we can go to our local businesses and do that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think your audience is looking at like a lot of positivity, and even though we know the need is great, like we're ready to make things better.
Well, thinking down the line is
back.
Yeah. Well, thinking down the line and seeing something that doesn't exist, and that's what all three of you have done with us. And the other thing I want to mention, is Justin talking about the portal. I mean, what I really like about this right now is the fact that it's an open portal. So chambers are listed on there because they're doing gift certificates in their program, and there's a link that actually can direct people directly to other links besides the rismallbusiness.org site, the Gift It Forward site. And we're encouraging people, if you're doing something out there that is trying to help and promote small businesses in your neck of the woods, then we want to hear from you, because we think that there's a way that can incorporate that in a way that can help elevate small businesses, friendliness in the state, and of course the opportunities for our small businesses. And as they grow, our communities get stronger. As a mayor, I knew that. And not only as they grow, the people who work with them, that they work with, they get stronger opportunities, and our economy gets stronger and stronger. And that's a big factor in terms of being able to raise a family. My three things as a mayor was always like, give me a safe and fiscally sound community, give me a really good education, and give me an economy that can support the families. To me, it's no more difficult than that. That's a difficult task, but if you really focus on that, and that's what you guys are doing right now. Yeah, anybody have a last word? I don't know, Ben, can we squeeze Louise back in if she's hanging around in the back room at all?
Louise actually left.
Okay, good.
But Andrea
Okay.
has a great question that I thought that we
Okay.
could end on. What is one local small business, restaurant, store, service biz, etc., that each guest has supported during COVID-19?
All right. I'll
Um,
give. We shopped Feast and Fettle. They delivered our meals to us this week, and then I went down to Clock Farm and also a florist. We've done multiple things. My wife Susan's gone on, got some Easter candy for us, even though we're the only ones home. We ate it. We enjoyed it. An Easter a candy shop in Pawtucket. So
yeah. One of mine is Farm Fresh RI. We're trying to really make sure that we're purchasing our produce and supporting our local farmers. So we've been doing that every other week, and it's been really tasty and delicious, as well as, coffee shops like Sydney's Cafe here in downtown Providence.
nice.
I'm going to go next because I have probably the worst answer. I have not gone out very much. I gone to Dave's Market, and I spend my days talking to all the businesses on our site to make sure that they are doing what they need to do. But I go to Dave's Market.
Well, I got a homework assignment for you for call on Friday. I'm going to ask that question.
I'm going to make order. I think Justin gave me a good idea because he has this really cool beer that he's drinking right now, and I want some of it.
That's right. Oh, that's right. You got a call on that tomorrow, I think. Justin, do you want to weigh in? I mean, you've been giving so much. I don't know if you've been buying anything, but here it is. Okay.
We got it right here.
Nice.
So we got out to go to Proclamation the other day. I did get my T-shirt from Frog and Toad. So Andrea challenged me to drink a beer on TV, so I will.
There you go.
We're all having fun with it. So I mean, if we can't have fun with what we're doing, then what's the point?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up right now, but I just want to thank the three of you for doing what you're doing. I think I've described it as very extraordinary. So we're taking a bad situation and we're doing something with it. And our office could not possibly have done the work that you three have done. There's just no way that we'd have the resources to do it. And you could have all the best ideas in the world. And I do want to see an A in business friendliness before I leave as Lieutenant Governor. And now you've given me hope that could happen because of what you're talking about right here. And so, we'll make sure that our office is supporting what's going to happen. And we're very open to how that might happen. But, our office is supposed to be advocating for the small businesses. And you've given a little bit of shot in the arm for that to happen. So I want to just thank each one of you for your help. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We call you our small business champion.
Yeah, well, we're trying hard.
It's true.
We're trying hard. I take it very personal. We've rode this roller coaster many times that all our small businesses are running right now. I mean, I go back to the bank crisis and the 9/11 crisis and the real estate crisis that we all had just 10 years ago. So it is a very troubling time for a lot of people. And this type of work, as was described a few times about being positive, just leaves a great sense of people caring about individuals that we don't even know, but we know those families are going to be struggling and we want to help them out. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
2 thumbs up to you, Lois. No, I get Laurie. 2 thumbs up. I give 2 thumbs up to everybody. Okay. All right. I think that we did a good job tonight. Make sure that we stay in the loop with you. Next week we'll be back and we're going to be talking. One of the pieces that we're going to talk is a Lieutenant Governor's Entrepreneur Challenge that we started 2 years ago. This year, about $14,000 scholarship money, just because the kids are not in school and the high school students are not in school. We're taking applications right now, and we'll be acting on a contest, Shark Tank, and we might be doing it virtual like this. We may have to come on this show, Ben, and do it right here. But
Absolutely.
next week, that's going to be a piece of it. We're going to have a couple of our young people who participated last year. So, Ben, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Else?
We have one question that I just want to get to because it's the only question we
Okay.
wouldn't have gotten to. Happy Earth Day. Is there a way small businesses can support sustainable actions when business models are adapted due to the crisis?
Yeah, so Earth Day, we were ready to really knock out a project, and we had a full conversation with Keep America Beautiful last week. So yes, we want to make sure that our, we're supporting, good environmentally safe type of business structures. But we also want to send a message to everybody out there in the state. There's cleanup projects that are still going on. There's ways that you can kind of participate that way and support your local businesses. And I thank you so much for being here tonight. And we'll see you next week. Good night.